Hello everyone, I hope you learned a lot from my report on differentiated instruction. The objectives for the topic today is to define differentiated instruction, identify online tools that can be used for differentiated instruction in the new normal, and identify ways on how to use differentiated instruction in a virtual classroom and printed modular modality. What is differentiated instruction? Differentiated instruction is an approach whereby teachers adjust their curriculum and instruction to maximize the learning of all students. Differentiated instruction is not a single strategy, but rather a framework that teachers can use to implement a variety of strategies, many of which are evidence-based. These evidence-based strategies include employing effective classroom management procedures, grouping students for instruction, assessing readiness, and teaching to the student's zone of proximal development. Let's move to the general principles of differentiated instruction. Differentiated instruction is not a one-size-fits-all approach, but instead should be shaped to meet the needs of students. This does not mean that teachers individually tailor instruction. Rather, they differentiate instruction for groups of students. What makes this challenging for teachers is that students' needs vary. Across content areas, for example, some students excel with math but struggle with reading. Or within content areas, some students excel at addition but struggle with fractions, and across the school year. For example, at the beginning of the year, some students struggle with reading but improve greatly due to effective instruction. For our first question, how did you differentiate your instruction before the pandemic when we had face-to-face classes? You're given 1 minute to think about your answer and organize your thoughts. Let's identify some theoretical bases of differentiated instruction. First, we have Vygotsky's socio-cultural theory of learning, Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, and the hierarchic theory of intelligence. So, how do we differentiate instruction? First, know your students in terms of readiness, which refers to a student's knowledge and skill level regarding given content, and their interest, which refers to topics, skills, or activities that pique a student's curiosity or inspire him or her. Then, their learning profile, which refers to a student's preferred method of learning new information or skills. Second is differentiate instructional elements, which are the content, the knowledge and skills students need to master, the process, the activities students use to master the content, and the product, the method students use to demonstrate learning. Let's discuss the three instructional elements in detail. First, we have differentiate content. When teachers differentiate content, the same concept or skill is taught to each student. However, the curriculum used to teach the concept or skill might be different for different students. Next, we have differentiate process. When teachers differentiate process, they teach the same concept or skill to each student. However, the manner in which each student makes sense of the topic or skill can vary. Therefore, teachers should vary the activities students use to master the concepts or skills. And differentiate product. When teachers differentiate product, they assess the same concept or skill for each student at the end of the unit of study. However, teachers offer their students a variety of ways to demonstrate their knowledge, for example, via a video or written report. When doing so, the teacher strives to evaluate and grade student performance. Those students will work on different activities and demonstrate their knowledge through a variety of products. Teachers can accurately evaluate student performance using several methods. Before we move to the different methods of evaluating and grading students' performance, let's go to the second question. How do you differentiate the content, process, and product in your instruction now? Again, you're given 1 minute to think and organize your thoughts. Let's continue with the different methods we can use to evaluate and grade student performance. First, we have rubrics. A rubric is an objective set of guidelines that define the criteria used to score or grade an assignment. We also have portfolios. A portfolio is a collection of artifacts or individual work samples that represent a student's performance over a period of time. Then we also have self-assessment. Student self-assessment is the process of students using specific criteria to evaluate and reflect on their work. Let's now move to the importance of assessment and differentiated instruction. Rather than assessing students only at the end of a unit, teachers can use assessments before, during, and after teaching a unit to gather information critical to providing effective instruction. Before discussing that in detail, let's now move to question number 3. What are examples of assessment you do before a lesson, during a lesson, after the lesson in your classroom? Again, you will be given 1 minute to think about your answers. Let's now move to the different types of assessment categorized by the time they are administered. First, we have assessment before a lesson or unit, for example, a pre-assessment. The purpose of this one is to assess students' prior knowledge, skill, and understanding. Also, to determine students' interest, to ascertain students' learning needs, to inform teachers' use of instructional strategies or practices, and to help teachers assign students to groups. Sample assessment under this are standardized tests from prior year, unit pretest, academic record, self-report measure, KWL chart, interest inventory, skill inventory, journal entry, and teacher observation. Next is assessment during a lesson or unit, or a formative assessment. The purpose of this one is to determine what the students understand, to determine students' needs, to inform teachers of needed instructional adjustments, to help teachers design meaningful lessons, and to help teachers assign students to different groups. Some examples you can do under this assessment is work samples, small group discussion, whole class discussion, journal entries, portfolio entries, exit cards, homework assignments, quizzes, student conference, concept map, quick answers on a dry erase board, thumbs up or down or sideways. Last is assessment after a lesson or unit. The purpose is to determine what the students have learned, to aid teachers in assigning grades, and to assist teachers in refining instruction for the following year. Some sample assessments are chapter or unit test, project, report, PowerPoint presentation, or demonstration. Let's now move to differentiated instruction in the new normal. The same general principles for physical classrooms can be applied online, using a professional-looking space with good lighting for video lectures, offering small group virtual breakout rooms, student-led chat forums, and virtual office hours can go a long way in creating a comfortable virtual space for students. A lesson will likely resonate with a wider range of students if it targets visual, auditory, tactile, and kinesthetic senses. This means applying several different teaching approaches in your lessons, such as watching videos, listening to audio clips, playing educational games, and dividing students into pairs or groups in virtual breakout rooms, as well as providing both spoken and written directions. You can also use tools such as online questionnaires, quizzes, and polls to pinpoint what content will best meet students' needs, asking them about their favorite class activities, for example, or about which type of exercises help them remember key points. Let's now move to differentiated instruction strategies for digital classrooms and printed modular modality. First, we have tiered assignments. Assign groups of students to specific tasks according to comprehension. They meet the same learning goals, but at different levels of challenge and complexity. Second is group work based on learning styles. After teaching a lesson, break students into small groups using virtual breakout rooms. Students can be grouped based on their learning styles, such as visual or auditory, rather than ability. Of course, not all students are aware of their learning style, and they may have more than one learning style, so a pre-assessment quiz can help determine how to group students. Third is flexible groupings. This approach to group work allows students to rotate in and out of temporary groupings, whether pairs or small groups, to complement their own learning style. This does, however, require some pre-planning. Looking over student learning profiles will help create groups and ensure students rotate in and out of the most appropriate groupings. Fourth is layered curriculum. This offers students a choice of assignments, though they are still required to demonstrate mastery of course material in order to pass. It's a good choice for instructors who are teaching a large online class but still want to provide differentiation. Next is independent projects. Ask students to come up with their own project ideas and pitch them to you. The project must still meet academic standards, so students should be open to your revisions or refinements. Sixth is student response systems. These systems allow for real-time collaboration, helping educators better gauge student understanding in order to differentiate instruction. You can create online quizzes, for example, that automatically assign differentiated follow-up activities or assignments based on the student's score and comprehension of material. Seventh is game-based learning. Educational games can be used across a range of subjects. Look for platforms that allow you to monitor students, perhaps even generate reports, to assess learning and where any gaps exist. They can also promote self-paced learning. Some games will adjust according to the player's needs. Next is interactive discussions. Rather than being the sage on stage, which is difficult in a virtual classroom, even for the most riveting of lecturers, use digital tools to facilitate interactive online roundtables, discussions, and debates. Last is hands-on activities. At first, this may seem difficult to conduct in an online environment, but it could inspire surprising creativity in your students as they look for household objects to use in artistic or scientific projects, and it will appeal to students who are tactile or kinesthetic learners. Thank you, and now I will be moving to a live reporting to show you some tools and websites that I use for facilitating an interactive discussion in online classes.